have a group of five EML students. They're in third grade, and we have them 4 days a week for a fit block that's about 25, 30 minutes long. And I call it our advanced hold apart group because our sequence is that we take three images from the curriculum. We look at really what the essential question is in the curriculum and what vocabulary and what they need to be able to do. Kind of use like the story arc questions for this content knowledge. We're trying a little bit, we go a tiny bit ahead of where they're going in the homeroom classes, just so we can really front load some of this vocabulary for the students. So our process is typically on day one. We review the three pictures, we mark up the pictures with what we notice, and then I infuse the essential vocabulary through labeling those pictures and also just in oral language. On day two, we review what we did the day before and try to use those words in sentences. And then I typically have two targeted sentence frames that they orally respond to, sentence frames about those pictures. And then on day three, we do a shared writing. Um, Kelly did a really nice model. You modeled for us one day, Kelly, and really brought it to life. She had the kids pretend like they were explorers and they wrote a letter home. And together they wrote the letter using the vocabulary words, using the content knowledge. And then she chopped up the letter and the kids had to put it back together. And then I kind of took that out for the next 2 days for the kids, pulling cutting up the sentences and then putting them back together. And it really built their content knowledge and their oral language and their understanding of what was going on throughout the curriculum. Do you want to
add to this? No, I was just going to say, I think it's been it's this process. I think just the planning for it has helped me to have a better understanding of thinking about, I know we've done so many trainings at school about, writing language objectives and thinking about that. And I think sometimes for teachers who are not ELD teachers, or it felt very much like you're checking a box. Like I was writing that language objective, but I think going through the process of planning for the hold apart, and even like with the planning sheet that you were sharing earlier, Kelly, going through the entire process with the words and what is it that we're going to be asking, what do we want students to be able to say, how is it going to relate back to the curriculum, has for me made it much more clear and being able to make those connections between the language skills and content. So that's been really helpful. Just the planning process, I think, has been a mind shift for me in terms of what the needs of our students has been.
Becky, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure. So I work in middle school and I teach a reading intervention, Orton Gillingham, to students in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade who are still, this particular group of students, we just finished the alphabet. And so decoding is obviously a weakness. And something that I noticed was that in class, we're so focused on the letters and the blending, we rarely get to more writing. And so this was kind of a nice way for me to incorporate the two. So we had been working a little bit on the vowel U. And so I had a book called Fun in the Sun. The book we were doing was called Fun in the Sun. And so we did a picture walk of the book and we looked through and just talked about all the different things that we saw in the book. And then we did a brainstorm. I was giggling to myself when you guys were talking about picking the best picture because I probably spent so much time picking this stupid picture that I don't even really like that much. But I was trying to find like a diverse group of people doing different types of things. Anyway, so we brainstormed and then we came up with some sentences. So we went through this. We said, okay, we're going to write some sentences. And so these are the sentences that my students came up with. I thought it was interesting that everything started with I like, I like, I like. So there wasn't a lot of variety in their sentences. But The next class we went through, well, I'm sorry, for the first one, we practiced reading. Every kid read every single sentence out loud, which for some of my students, you know, they're not asked to read off of a board or off of a piece of paper sentences very often. And so it was really good practice for them. And I was able to kind of strategically pick kids like one that I was confident would be able to get it and read it out loud. So then the one that I knew was least confident would go last. So he was like really ready. Then the next class we went through, we added information to all the sentences. Every time we did, we went through, we read. And then the last two that I like to play soccer and volleyball, and I like to ride my bike with my cousin. I had the students do it independently. So the first three we did together as a group, and the next ones we did independently. I haven't gone through the next two steps yet, but the next two are we're going to be writing a paragraph together and then adding to it as we go, practicing each time. And then the next class, doing the different order, which I'm kind of excited about to see if they're able to kind of get it back in some sort of chronological order. And then in the end, they're going to be writing a paragraph themselves about what they like to do in the sun. So that's how I did it so far.